Welcome everyone. The dust is just about settled after Sunderland secured 3 points away at Hull City this afternoon, courtesy of an excellent goal from Wilson Isidor and what some are calling an assist from Bobby Madley. We'll be getting our immediate reactions from the game and looking ahead to next weekend. Stay tuned for all of that and more on this week's episode of Where Black Cats Walk.
Welcome back to Where Black Cats Walk. Bobby Madley likes helping Sunderland out, doesn't he, Dylan?
Well, to be honest, I've normally slagged him off to high heaven every single time he's reffed us, especially more so at home. He normally has a stinker and everyone hates him, so it makes a nice change that he's somewhat helped us out today. But I'm sure the whole fans will be just as distraught as I normally am after he referees a Sunderland game.
All right, thanks for watching, Sunderland fans. We're looking back and getting Dylan's views on that whole game, and also, as he said, looking ahead to this week. Back to the top of the table, though, Dylan. You can't argue with that, can you?
No, definitely not. And I think I've been discussing it sort of with my mates, and that shows how fine margins things are in this league. We obviously, on the back of the league game, we lose that game, we're not top of the league right now, whereas now we're a point clear of second and 3 points clear of third, really in an excellent position with a set of games coming up where we're not playing anyone particularly high. I think 5 of our next 6 are against teams in the bottom 10 at the minute. So we just need to make sure we capitalise on this good form because, as I said before, it's normally the story of our season. We can beat the good teams. Obviously, we took 4 points from Leeds and Burnley, although fortunately, and normally we drop points to your teams like your Plymouth. So it's all about just kicking on and securing points going forward, especially in games that we should be winning on paper.
Well, all right, on this episode, then, we want to talk about Huggins' new deal. We want to talk about Connolly, of course, Aidan McGeady calling time on his career, and also we're asking, because it's Halloween, who is the scariest, nastiest player to ever play in a Sunderland shirt? Drop your views on that in the comments below. Okay, let's get this let's get this view then out the way with. Here's what a Newcastle fan had to say. Commiserations to all Hull fans. Bobby Madley has got previous when it comes to assisting Sunderland. He effed Newcastle over in the derby when he sent off Colaccini and gave the filth a penalty over a simple shoulder barge. Corrupt, bald, you know what. Do you remember that?
Very briefly, I mean, look, it was a long time ago, but I don't want to give the Mags too much airtime on this pod. But what I will say is, I doubt he could have been at fault for the other 5 where we won a match 6 in a row. But then again, I can't sit here and give it a picking because everybody knows what happened the last time we played them. So yeah, I mean, I've got to sort of eat a bit of humble pie there, but clearly he's very, very bitter.
Let's review the whole game then, shall we? Who impressed you? I mean, we're becoming quite boring here because we're becoming the Chris Mepham Sing Your Praises podcast, but he's just brilliant, isn't he?
He's absolutely outstanding. He was robbed of man of the match today. Don't get us wrong, Wilson Isidor was so good for the goal. I mean, to run that far, that length of the pitch and just dink it over the keeper the way he did is sublime. But Chris Mepham was just so solid defensively. I mean, it wasn't, I know they didn't have a shot on target, but it certainly wasn't as comfortable as it might look stats-wise on paper. They did get forward, they did press, and they did have a few chances. And Mepham was just getting the ball away at every opportunity. And he was really outstanding, especially when 09 was tending to roam forward a bit more this match. There was a few times we were caught on the counter and Mepham sort of got to have himself between 2 players. He did really well at one point to sort of cover the passing lane for what would have been an easy square and tap and goal. So yeah, he was absolutely outstanding, Mepham. Other than that, Isidor. We had some poor performance, had some good performance, but Mepham for me, man of the match by far.
Yeah, it was echoed by BW. Mepham, man of the match there, class above. Mepham, man of the match by a country mile. He needs signing immediately. Smithy said, not our best performance. That's a massive 3 points. Mepham, outstanding. Outstanding again. Isidor's come out in the international break and said that actually he's really enjoying his time. His time here, obviously, he's on loan from Zenit, isn't he? Is it St. Petersburg? It's difficult, isn't it, when you don't know the finances of where Sunderland are at? But would you be breaking the bank based on what you've seen so far for Wilson?
Well, to be honest with you, there's already an option to buy included in the deal. I believe the only reason it wasn't a permanent in the first place is because there's some sort of sanctions on players being sold out of Russia. Otherwise, I think it would have already been a done deal, because it seems they've sort of given us for free for the season. From what's reported, we're not paying any loan fee, we're not paying any wages. So by the sounds of it, it's sort of just being put off until there's a point where we're allowed to sign him. But yeah, whatever the fee is, whether it's anywhere upwards to sort of 5 million. I mean, he's scored 3 goals so far. Hopefully he gets many more if he continues the way he's going. He's shown he's got that striker's instinct. He's got the pace to get him behind. It's certainly a player I want to see coming in on a permanent deal, as well as Mepham as well, hopefully, if he keeps his form up.
What about Mepham then? I mean, how much do you think he would cost you on this going market?
Well, to be fair, I don't know how long's left on the deal at Bournemouth. The fact that he's been allowed to leave on loan suggests that he's not necessarily required much there. Obviously, they've sort of been trying to add quality over the past couple of windows. They've got Senesi at centre-back, who's sort of really a level above where Mepham's at. But yeah, again, I wouldn't be opposed to sort of parting with a few £1 million for him. He's still relatively young in terms of a centre-back. He's late 20s, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to play till sort of mid to late 30s, so it's certainly not like we're going to have no sort of resale value or anything there. But yeah, if he continues the way he goes for the rest of the season, and hopefully we'll find ourselves promoted, it's that sort of experience and character that you want to have in a new team, whether that be top end Championship, bottom end Premier League. I would definitely be looking at signing Chris Mepham on a permanent.
Okay. One of your last away games was, of course, at Plymouth, where defensively you were shambolic in certainly the last 30 minutes. What was different today in terms of what Labrie did to shore that up?
To be honest, we still had our shaky moments. Again, I think we commit a lot of bodies forward to try and create chances, but then again, you sort of obviously forgo the opportunity to defend more solidly. However, I think we dealt with it really well. As we said there, Mepham was a big part of that today. I think what Labrie touched on in his post-match interview today regarding the losses is that both of those games, he made the conscious decision, right, we're going to go for the win here instead of just settling for the draw, and that's what I prefer. Sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. Thankfully today it did, because we went through it, we got the win. But I think sort of we just had a few poor individual performances the past few weeks, which I think are starting to get ironed out, and hopefully we should go back to being more solid defensively going forward.
Okay. All right, a great win though. Again, at a club which are decent at home, so it's another 3 points on the board. Great. Luton away and Oxford at home. Then next, obviously Luton have just got their first, a very handsome win over Watford, and then Oxford, of course, haven't been travelling well. So, would you take? How many points would you take from here? You'd be happy with 4?
Would I be happy with 4? Yes, but we're top of the table only by the 1 point. You need to try and take maximum points from these games. And whilst Luton, yes, they've just come down from the Premier League, as you said there, they haven't got off to the greatest start this season. However, Kenilworth Road, really hard place to go. It's sort of more cagey, smaller pitch where they just sort of close you in and squeeze you. And we tend to play a better way. We can play more open, sort of ping the passes, have the wingers create room. But I think you need to be able to beat everybody in the league if you want to go up. So I think we should be looking at 6 points realistically.
Okay. All right, let's have a look at some of the other news then that's happened over the international break. Niall Huggins had his contract extended whilst we were away till 2026. He's currently out, isn't he? I think with quite a serious knee injury. But was that pleasing news?
Yeah, I was delighted. I'm a big fan of Niall Huggins. I think when he's fully fit, which unfortunately is very rare, he's an outstanding fullback. He'd probably be in with more of a shout of getting a place in the right at the minute than the left, because I think Serkin's just levels above everybody else, every other left back in the league this season. But yeah, I think in terms of his first touch, I think he's got one of the first touches at the club, best first touches at the club. He can sort of bring the ball down as if it's on a cushion, even when it's being pinged from 30 yards. He can carry it, and he's shown he's got the ability to get forward and score goals as well. So yeah, I imagine it's sort of been more given to him to help with his rehabilitation and his recovery, because he's not due back till sort of front end of next year. So then by the time he gets back into the team regularly, it's going to be sort of back end of the season. Then that gives him gives him a year to sort of prove he deserves another contract, depending on where we're at in terms of league, in terms of squad. So yeah, but I'm happy to see that he signed a new deal, definitely.
Yeah, great to hear, especially with injured players. Sometimes clubs can just let contracts run out, can't they? Naturally, so good on Sunderland for that one.
Yeah, we've been really good with that, to be fair. We've done it in the past with Jordan Willis, Corey Evans on the back of big injuries. We'll sort of give them an extra year and help with their recovery. I think Jordan Willis, a couple of years ago, even after his contract had expired, they still sort of kept him at the club to train and recover. So yeah, we tend to be quite good for that in terms of looking after players.
Okay. During the international break, we didn't speak about it 2 weeks ago, but Aaron Connolly, of course, signed for the Black. Guess what? First of all, was that a strange signing for you, or did it make sense in many areas?
Well, I think they'd already come out and said that they wouldn't really be looking at the free agent market, so it certainly caught me off guard. I mean, I'd seen it reported on Twitter a few days before, and I was sort of like, oh yeah, whatever. So I was still quite shocked when it turned out to be true. I think you look at the past few years, you might be sort of sceptical of where he's been, what are the questions over his attitude and things like that. But then you look at his goal record at Hull last season, chipped in with a few for them. And I think what's really important is that he came out on World Mental Health Day and released that interview talking about the struggles he's had in his personal life. And you really did get the impression that he sort of put that all behind him and he's ready to kick on. Labrie said before they signed him, he had some really in-depth discussions to make sure he was the right sort of character to have at the club. And albeit only 21 games, he's played in 2 21 games and scored 3 goals. So he's clearly started to learn back where the net is, and he was sort of quite energetic, looked all right, looked sharp in the brief cameo he made today. So yeah, I'm all for having him on board, and hopefully he can chip in with a few goals and keep us at the top end of the table.
Absolutely, yeah, he's a quality player on his day, isn't he? But hasn't really been settled in too many places, but did have a decent season last year for Hull. Other bits then, you brought in a new assistant head coach to work under Labrie. Pedro Ribeiro, 38, has worked across Europe and the Middle East. What do we know about him? Anything?
If I'm totally honest, absolutely nothing. Had a look at his coaching record. As you say, he's coached in the Middle East. He's coached in Portugal under some decent managers. But to be fair, I think it's fair play to them for actually going through with it, because they sort of, the way they were talking, they kept saying, oh yeah, we're getting interviews done, we're looking at people, and then nothing was really coming of it. I thought they were just going to wait until everyone forgot about it. I was actually quite pleasantly surprised when they did announce one. I think that sort of is a boost for everybody. It means Mike Dodds can focus on more solely on what he's good at. Basharini can focus on what he's good at, and then we've got another mind in to sort of help think of what we can do tactically, whether that be, I don't know if he specialises in more attacking or defensive tactics, but I'm all for having another mind on board. And if it's someone that the recruitment team and the coaching staff who exist in have faith in, then I'll have no reason to disagree with them.
Great stuff. Aidan McGeady retired, or announced his retirement from football 20 years after making his senior debut. He's played for, of course, many clubs, Celtic and Reverton, and of course Sunderland. What sort of happy memories of been wearing the red and white for you?
Yeah, for the most part, absolutely. Aidan McGeady was an outstanding player, and especially in our League One days, was just head and shoulders quality-wise better than anybody else we had at the club. I do think that was a negative sometimes, not through anything other than he tried to do everything himself, because sort of everyone else wasn't really cutting it, and he sort of took it on his shoulders to try and get us forward, try and get chances, and he'd maybe sometimes try and have a solo effort instead of just playing the ball off. But he was by far the best player we had. Some of his set pieces were absolutely outstanding. Some of his goals he scored were outstanding. And I know we didn't win the game, but we had a great Wembley moment when he scored that free kick against Portsmouth. It's just a shame that we went on to lose on penalties, I suppose. But yeah, I wish him all the best in retirement, and I'll always look back fondly at his time at Sunderland.
Yeah, and as Everton fan, Aidan, we thank you for all the very small cameo you played in our history as well. So scored some really crucial goals for us as well. All right, then, a final one. It's Halloween week. So, of course, we're asking this week, who's the nastiest and most evil player to put on a Sunderland shirt? Who's the nastiest player you've ever seen for your side, Dylan?
Well, the problem is, especially in the past few years, that's exactly what we've lacked. We've lacked someone who's sort of got that grit about them, who's just going to go and leave a foot in, throw himself about a bit. But I think in terms of nasty players, you can't really look past Lee Cattermore. I mean, his yellow card tally speaks for itself. And I think everyone's always going to remember that iconic picture of him stood over Jack Colback lying on a heap on the floor in a Newcastle shirt. So yeah, for me, recent years is probably going to be Lee Cattermole. Some people might say the likes of Kevin Ball, but I wasn't watching football by then, so I'll not say him. I'll say Lee Cattermole.
Okay, fair enough then. Disagree with that? Can you think of any more players that have been nasty than Lee Campbell? It's a good shout there, actually. It's a good shout.
He was good.
Absolutely, yeah. Right. We will then be with you next week, and we're going to chat about Luton result and the Oxford result. So stick around next week for that. And of course, we're also looking ahead to who's going to win the October Player of the Month as we come to the end of another set. Thank you very much, Dylan, for joining us. Thank you for watching a 20 minutes podcast. Of course, you can download it on Spotify and on Apple Music and wherever you download your podcasts from. Do drop us a subscribe if you haven't done already. We massively, massively appreciate it. And we'll see you back next week. Thanks for watching.